Hello, hello. Happy Monday.
Happy Monday, everybody out there in Facebook land, and to my good and great co-host, Mr. Josh Weidman. Ladies and gentlemen, coming to you live at noon every day. This is the Build and Grow with Real Estate Show. My name is Judah Hoover, and as I said, that handsome fellow right over there is Josh Weidman. We are here to talk about real estate trends, how to be an active real estate investor, how to be a passive real estate investor, how to be a realtor or service provider in the central Pennsylvania and a larger mid-Atlantic region. We are reaching thousands and thousands of people a week. We are very close to crossing, averaging about 1,000 people a day. We're really excited about that across the different platforms. So if you are out there and you are watching this show, give us some love. Let us know that you're that you're watching. Like and share and comment definitely throughout the course of the show. We greatly appreciate all of our listeners. We know that there is really any place else you could be, but you've decided to be here day after day, and that's very meaningful. Go, Josh. You have a comment.
One thing that I wanted to say here. I'm bringing this back. So in January, I published a book called Property Hackers.
Yeah, we haven't done this in a long time.
I know. We've had so many loyal followers commenting, like, who wants 20 copies of the same book, right?
Right.
In the past, when we first got started on the show, I was giving away a free copy of the book to the best comment on the show. So we're going to bring that back. If you have been, if you're a new real estate investor or you're an experienced investor and you think that we're crazy and we are way off, or if we're right on, throw out some comments. We love the interaction from our audience. And we want to hear what you have to say. So I got a couple copies right back here. All right. Best comment of the day gets a copy of Property Hackers, your guide to becoming a successful real estate investor. Let's jump into it. Judah, who the heck are you?
My name is Judah Hoover, and I am an executive with Slate House Group. I am a active full-time agent in this business day in and day out. We manage about 4,000 units across 4 different states. I've flipped about 600 houses myself. I used to own a mortgage company. I used to own a hard money company. I'm still very active, especially in the paper game. That's my favorite way to be in the real estate business. So if all that doesn't speak competence and the ability to bring value to the marketplace when it comes to listing your houses, I'm not sure what is. I talked to a guy this weekend, met him, Friday morning, and he texted me Friday night, and he said, Judah, I just wanted to say, thank you. I'm excited to be working with you and moving forward. You definitely have the skill set to get my property sold, and I appreciate you being punctual to the meeting. And I said, boy, what a crazy time we live in when somebody showing up on time is noteworthy. So who are you, Josh?
Sure. My name's Josh Weidman. I've been a real estate investor full-time since December 2006. No, right now I am a hard money lender. I run the Hard Money Bankers. I'm a partner with Hard Money Bankers, and I run our office here in central Pennsylvania. So if you're looking to fund your next project, give me a call, 717-213-8488. So what makes us different than every other lender is that we are a direct lender. And if you've been in the real estate investment game for a little bit, maybe you had a project that was ready to close at the beginning of March, or maybe you were counting on one of these guys that was bank backed or institutionally backed. March was a crazy month for us because one of the major underwriters disappeared from the marketplace. So all these hard money lenders, they just disappeared. As you probably well know, if you've been watching this show, I'm not really all that optimistic on the future of real estate values. That doesn't mean you don't invest. Obviously, as I said, I'm an active investor, but we never went away. We've been lending every day since the shutdown. We've been lending for the last 14 years, since 2007. When we started, we made over 3,000 loans, and we can move really quickly because we are a direct lender. We're able to underwrite your deal. within just a few hours. You give me a call, you give me some basic information, shoot me an email if you'd like. Give me some basic information. We can approve your loan on the same day you contact us. And if you need to close quickly, we can close in as little as 24 hours. No joke. We've done it before. We've actually closed on loans the same day that they've originated in, very extreme situations. That's not the norm. But if you need to close in 2 weeks, 3 weeks, or you need to close tomorrow, give me a ring or check us out online at hardmoneybankers.com. Judah, back to it. We're back to the grindstone on Monday. Some crazy things happened over the weekend. I got in some Facebook fights. It was awesome. But I mean,
what's the ROI in getting in Facebook fights?
Zero.
Yeah.
But yeah, I went to church yesterday morning. The pastor says, "Listen, we've got a problem today. We got a problem in our current world today where people don't listen to each other. So go and talk to somebody with opposing views." And when I say fight, it wasn't really a fight. Like I'm not a contentious person. I might be a little aggressive sometimes, but ultimately, like
a little aggressive sometimes, and has the cauliflower ear to prove it.
Yeah, exactly. And so we had a comment on Friday's show where Judah thought this guy was being such a jerk. If you don't know what cauliflower ear is, it's something that develops. It's not a fungus. It's not something that's contagious unless you do some mat time. If you are involved in MMA or wrestling, sometimes boxing, it's something that can happen through years of training. And honestly, it's like walking around with a trophy on the sides of my face. But I got 20 years of wrestling here. It is what it is. I love the sport. I love MMA. And it certainly wasn't a negative comment. But anyway, we've got executive orders from the president. We've got, half of the postal service fired. Like, what the heck's going on here, Judah?
Yeah, it's absolutely crazy what's happening and what's going on. But I'm really excited and short term and even long term bullish, very bullish on the real estate market. I'm not sure exactly what's going to happen in the medium term. 5 to 6 months out, there's certainly some potential for some uncertainty, but I'm very excited about real estate. So today, what we're going to be talking about is picking markets, understanding markets, and understanding kind of neighborhoods within markets. So obviously, when we say picking a market, we're not talking about buying in central Pennsylvania versus Philadelphia or York County versus Chicago. We're talking about, drilling down even deeper than that and how what sub-market almost you should be investing in.
Yeah, and the reason that this is important. So first of all, this topic came from one of our listeners, Chris Gaines, who we were kind of communicating on Facebook, and he says, you ought to do a show on the best places to invest in Central PA. And as I thought more and more about it, I kind of brought up some conversations I've been having with borrowers and people calling me. And one of the questions that I'm going to ask is, hey, what's your exit strategy? What are you planning to do with this property once the renovations are done or, once you have it? Well, what's really interesting is that a lot of people, they don't even think about where they're looking for properties when they start. It's just, hey, I want to buy a rental property. I'm going to go out and find one, or I'm looking for a flip. Let's go out and find one. And the truth is, if you are investing any money into marketing, it's not cheap. You're talking about at least hundreds, if not thousands of dollars or tens of thousands of dollars a month,
or thousands of dollars worth of sweat equity. I remember when I started on a budget and I would literally I wish you could see this, but I had like a clipboard on my lap. And I had a stack of letters over here that I would pick up and sign and lay over here, like while I was watching TV. I would spend like hours handwriting and doing other things like that because I needed to get the most bang for my buck, and I just didn't have money. So it's not just money; it's also sweat equity as well that you put in.
Exactly. Well, exactly. And whatever you're doing for marketing, if you're looking for, if you're looking for a Ferrari, you're not going to open up the free newspaper. No. And vice versa. if you're looking for a jalopy, you don't want to look in,
Rob Report.
Yeah, exactly. So let's jump in here. And today we're going to kind of do an overview, but this week we're going to do some deep dives, look at the MLS, look at specific locations like, hey, if you're looking for a flip, this is the type of, this is the type of data. This is the type of screen you should see when you're looking at comparable sales. If you're looking for a rental or a wholesale deal or a BRRRR project, this is what you're looking for. So let's jump in and see where we go. All right. So the title of our topic here today is selecting the best location to match your investment model. We're going to specifically be talking about off-market deals, but this would certainly apply to to properties that are on the market too. The major difference here is that while we typically have a little bit less of a competitive market, right now it is on fire. I mean, burning down on fire.
White hot.
Yeah. So in preparation for the show, I wanted to kind of give a backdrop of like, hey, what's the market look like now? And why are we talking about off-market deals as opposed to on-market deals? Well, if you're here in central Pennsylvania, here's the 5 most populous counties right here in the mid-state. And if you look at this, I've included the total number of active listings in each county, the average days on market. And so when we talk average, that means that one house that's, $400,000 overpriced,
that's been on the market for 600. That's been on the market for 600 days.
Right. It totally skews the average, but still on all of these, we're talking about a month and a half, everything's under contract.
Right.
That means that a good number of properties are on the lower end of that spectrum.
Right.
If you notice here, median prices and the percentage of the list price.
Percent to list price is what's just absolute crazy. It's just absolutely crazy that, what we're seeing there. And frankly, I'm actually surprised that we don't see those numbers start to go to positive soon, because I've been telling, I don't work with a lot of buyers, though I do some. My specialty is listings. But when I talk to buyers, it is very common for me to say, okay, great, we're going to go look at 123 Main Street. Decide on the way there, start having the conversation with your spouse a while. How much over a listing price are you prepared to offer? Is it $5,000? Is it $20,000? How much over list price are you prepared to offer? We should go in a little bit above list price. And that's not because I'm looking to pad my commission or anything like that. That's just because there's nothing more infuriating than writing up 15 offers that all get lost because people are, don't understand what type of market we're in right now.
Right. And typically this is the kind of market that we see in the spring market. And so when I was comparing the numbers that we're going through right now, the market that we have at this moment, I took a look just for comparison at the median sales price during the spring market of 2019, right? Just to kind of see, hey, what's it look like? Well, in every county except one, we have about a 20% increase in the median home price. I mean, 20%, that's a lot.
Yeah.
And excuse me, 10%. Gee whiz, my math is off. My math is off. Sorry about that. But 10%. So 10% in a year, that's a lot. If you're looking for discounts, Lancaster County is the place to go. Not you only have to pay 90%, 99% a list.
Right. I got to tell you, I have a number of listings that I have ready to go onto the MLS. And I have like 3 bright screens open here on my browser, ready to hit submit. And I didn't want to do that until after the show because I know that as soon as I hit submit, my phone's going to be blowing up with agents asking questions and trying to schedule showings and things like that. I mean, it's just the market that we're in right now is a little bit crazy. But what we want to do is we want to talk about strategies, and we want to talk about what you should be looking for, so that if you're looking at not so much of a crazy hot market, you know what I mean? But these are numbers that you want to become familiar with on a regular basis. Every 2 to 3 months, you want to say, how many active listings are there in my county? What's the average days on market in my county? What's the median price in my county? What's the percentage of list to close in my county? How does my median price compare to last month? These are just numbers that you should, in general, know.
Yeah, I wanted to present these MLS sales because they don't represent all of the sales in these counties. You know, you think that the top wholesalers are paying 99%,
Right.
or the
Right.
top investors are paying 90% of list. They're not even included in this numbers because most of the time, the off-market deals, I mean, I see them all the time. They're significantly below market value to the tune of 30, 35, 40%. And so when you're marketing, that's really what we're talking about targeting. So the first step when you're determining what kind of location to jump into.
Hold on. Before you say this, I want to say something.
Yeah.
I get people that ask us all the time, "Hey, where should I be buying, or where are the good places to buy, or things like that?" And I want to say this until I'm blue in the face and you guys get sick of me saying it. There is no good place and there is no bad place to buy real estate. It's not better to buy and hold. It's not better to flip. It's not better to do BRRRR. It's not better to do quality class A properties or class B, C, or D properties. So a lot of people say, what is the best? And that's just wrong. It's what's best for you based on three things: your goals, your skill set and cash and credit score and things like that, and your risk tolerances.
Yeah.
So those three things are what going to make up what are my goals, what are my desires, what's my objective, what's my outcome, what's my skill set, how much cash do I have in the bank, what am I working a job, have I not filed taxes in 2 or 3 years? You know, what's my ability to capture, and what's my risk tolerance?
Yeah.
You know, there's people who they could do a whole they're qualified and they've got the desire to do much bigger deals than they do, but they're also kind of scared a little bit because of whatever reason, or they're more foolhardy than they should be. So there's, you know, risk tolerance is a big thing that a lot of people don't take into consideration either.
Well, exactly. And so when you're starting,
that's why we're talking about this, is because it makes a difference. Are you looking to wholesale? Are you looking to retail? You know, what's your exit strategy? Not what neighborhood should I buy in? What neighborhood should I buy in for someone with my goals and my risk tolerances who's looking to wholesale, or my goals and my risk tolerances who's looking to do BRRRR? You've got to ask these questions of yourself.
You almost want to create a profile for yourself, because that's good. That's what's going to matter. And so think about it like this. Let's start with the exit strategy, right? A lot of these, you're going to have some overlap, but it's important to understand that there are major differences. So wholesaling, right? You can start by thinking about what is the goal of each of these positions. So from a wholesale perspective, the idea is to do as much volume as you can and have the biggest arbitrage, right? So you're going to be looking in a different area potentially than these fix and flip areas, specifically these fix and flip areas, because fix and flips, I want to look at median home prices, the most demand, the most competition for the prices, the highest return. And of course I want to get a discount, but the percentage of people that are willing to sell at a big discount in those areas is going to be significantly different than in areas where you have, very low prices and very high prices within a quarter-mile radius from a certain property. And so you have to understand that when you're wholesaling, the objective is to make the most amount of money possible, right? Have the largest number of opportunities. On the flip side of that, if you're flipping a house, you don't necessarily want to be in a first-time home buyer market. And the reason for that is that those first-time home buyer markets, especially in a market like this, there are a lot of buyers that can buy these houses, which is a plus, but there's also a lot of people that are competing for the pre-improved properties. And so with those first-time home buyers, when you get those improved properties in the beginning of a cycle, and this is something that I think we're going to tackle in another show, but in the beginning of a cycle, you have very few of those first-time home buyer improved properties. So you don't have to do a ton of work to get good money. But as the longer we have an improving market and an uptrending market, the more people are jumping into this first-time home buyer rehab properties. And then you start seeing those $130,000 properties that have jacuzzi tubs, and they've got, gorgeous finished basements, granite countertops, high-end appliances, hardwood floors instead of laminate flooring. Like all of a sudden your margins go from great to like smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller until they disappear. So knowing the difference here is a big deal. When you're looking at a rental property, are you looking at cash flow? Are you looking at long-term equity growth? What's your objective? If you're looking at a BRRRR type property, that's buy, renovate, rent, and refinance, you want to make sure that you're buying at a large enough discount and there's enough comps in the area that you can get most or all of your cash out of that deal, right? So that's a different type of market than if you're just looking at a straight cash flow rental, right? All right. So then, you got in wholetailing and subject to properties. Again, different markets. If you're not familiar with wholetailing, it's basically getting a contract and then putting it on the MLS, marketing on the MLS close to retail at a slight discount. The second part of the equation is going to be what your capital and financing looks like. And Judy, you touched on this already, but like, how much cash do you have on hand? Can you use a hard money lender? Do you have bank and conventional financing that'll jump in? And how does that pair in to the fix and flip or the rental model? I know a lot of investors that do really well buying with a conventional mortgage, something on the market, they buy with a conventional mortgage and they have cash to renovate the property. Well, if you don't have any cash, that's not going to work for you. That conventional financing, it's off the board. If you're doing a BRRRR or you're doing a rental property and you're building a portfolio there, you need to make sure that you have bank conventional finance or commercial financing for your credit profile, for your cash reserves. There are a lot of things that go into that type of financing, and you need to know what that looks like. And then last but not least, the bank rehab financing, the 203K, the FHA 203K and some of the other stuff, that might be an option for you, but you need to know and understand what those type of products look like. And for some people, 90 days to close, that's great. For other people, like that's not going to work for a seller that needs to close quickly and is selling at a discount. That's a totally different model. Here's what I want to say just before you jump into construction knowledge, because that's a little bit different. Because there's not going to be much variance there. There's variables within these variables, and here's what I mean by that. You've got to just understand. Okay, I want to be a wholesaler, and you go after wholesaling. But if the right subject to presents itself, that's okay. Right. I want to do traditional bank financing, but oops, for whatever reason, I need to use a hard money loan in this case. By the way, this is why you should call Josh ahead of time, and he should have you pre-approved. And he doesn't pay me anything for saying that or anything like that. But that's why you want to do that with Josh is have your hard money situation taken care of up front. Have your lending package put together, even if you think you're going to be using cash, but you need to be able to go talk to the local banker. So it's okay if you're going after X, but you end up finding Y. It's just be focused on what it is that you want to do. I would focus on subject to, and occasionally I do some wholesaling every once in a while. You know what I mean? I would focus on subject to, and guess what? I actually did a couple wholetails as well. So and some fix and flips. So I focused on one thing, but then I took more things that came down the road, but I focused on the one thing. Yep, that's exactly right. So construction, this goes hand in hand with risk, a lot of it. The most risky part of any investment is before you have a tenant in there or before it's on the market, you buy it and now you start the construction project and realize, oh my goodness, my $10,000 budget is not going to get me where I need to be. Or you've got a $50,000 budget and you open a wall and realize there's termites through everything. So you need to know what your threshold of construction knowledge and your comfort level is going to be with different types of construction. If you say, look, I don't ever want to deal with a contractor, that's going to give you a totally different type of property that you're going to want to attract and go after than if you're like, hey, look, I got contractors coming out my ears. You know what I mean? All my neighbors are contractors, all my family's contractors. I've been doing rehab since I was 10 years old. That's a totally different environment. It's also important to understand that, a paint and carpet rehab is a different rehab than a cosmetic rehab. Cosmetics means, yeah, you're probably going to have some drywall, but you're also going to have kitchens and bathrooms that need to be remodeled, and probably floors and paint and carpet as well, and all that kind of stuff. But it's a larger renovation than a simple, lipstick on a pig, so to speak. Once you start getting into mechanical renovations where, let's say, they got knob and tube in the walls, or half the electric in the house doesn't work, well, that kind of renovation is going to require you to open up the drywall. You got to open up those walls. And now you're talking about larger expense, larger liability as you go through this thing. And we've got full guts and additions and things like that. There are certain areas, especially in neighborhoods where, there's a lot of these in central PA, where the housing stock is, let's say it's 75 years old, right? Where everything seems to be working well. And most of these neighborhoods are great, but the size of the houses isn't really conducive to the way people use them these days, right? So adding an addition, maybe it costs you $100,000 for the addition, but you can add $200,000 or $300,000 in value. And if you are, if you're comfortable, if you have that kind of knowledge and expertise, it's going to open up a whole different avenue of income generation than if you're not. All right. So our last target here is matching the right location with the type of project that you're looking to do, and understanding kind of the differences here. So I call it square peg in a round hole. It makes no sense to spend all your marketing dollars on cash flow investments in the areas that property values aren't high, but man, those rents look great. Why the heck would you buy that for a fix and flip or target that area if you're looking to flip properties? It makes no sense.
Right.
A lot of times those type of areas, the renovation costs are more than the property value, right? So in addition to that, you're looking at a cash flow property. The great equity doesn't necessarily matter. Where it really does, if you're looking at a flip, there are plenty of neighborhoods across the mid-state that they don't cash flow, right? There are plenty of locations that you can get $100,000 or $200,000 discount on a property, and you're still not making any money on a rental property. It just doesn't make sense. So why the heck would you target those places? If you're looking for subject to properties as opposed to straight buy and holds, the difference is like the really nice area that you can get a lump sum up front, make less over time, as opposed to cash flow and building equity and all the stuff that goes with that.
Well, yeah, I mean, here's specifically what you want to think about when you're targeting subject to neighborhoods is you're looking for bad things that have happened to good people shortly after the purchase, and they don't have enough equity in the property to even list the property, and they don't have enough equity in the property to sell it at a discount. Yeah. So, each of these has their own kind of philosophy that goes behind it. And subject to is the one that I understand the most because I crawled inside and I figured out, I thought, what's motivating this individual and what's going on here. And so you're looking for the person who bought a property 2 or 3 years ago. And this doesn't apply right now. I mean, this doesn't necessarily apply right now because property values are going up, 10% a year. So 3 years from now, they're going to be 30% more. So they're going to have the equity there. But in a normal market where you're seeing 1, 2, or 3% a year, on a good year, you're seeing 5% appreciation. 2 years, a year and a half after somebody buys that property and they get divorced or their dream job comes up in Arizona or whatever they need to sell, you're looking for that property that doesn't need a whole lot of work at all. It's a great property in a great neighborhood, but there's not equity in it. The subject to is how you generate and create equity where other investors and other realtors can't find it. So a property that's in a more mature neighborhood, an existing neighborhood, those properties that are like Cape Cods that are $250,000 that are in a nice school district, but the development has been there for 25 or 30 years. Those are great neighborhoods to canvas and flip in, but you're actually not going to find a whole bunch of those people in that neighborhood where they're going to be interested in doing subject to, because they're going to have enough equity that they're just going to list and sell with a realtor, or they're going to be in a desperate situation. They're going to be willing to take a cash offer from an investor. So a lot of people think subject to and flipping are the same neighborhoods. They're really not. They're two different neighborhoods.
Yeah. Yeah.
So even I mean, obviously we're talking about every type of investing, but even in the things that look on the surface very similar, a subject to property and flipping a property, those seem like the same type of finished end product, and they might be similar end products, but they are different property neighborhoods to begin with.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Um, so tonight, have a seat, sit down, write down your pluses and minuses, write down the type of investing that you're trying to accomplish, and then assign what's most important about that. Like everybody says, oh yeah, I want to get involved in real estate. And most of the time they say it because they think, all of a sudden they're going to fall backwards into a big pile of cash. Well, that can happen, but it takes a lot of hard work. And it's going to start by spending money, being smart about how you spend your money on marketing, identifying those areas that are going to match your investment style and your desired outcome. And even look, if you want to have zero renovation costs, the likelihood of that happening in a neighborhood or an area that is 70, the properties are 70, 75 years old, 60 years old, it's very low, unless all those homes are really, really consistent neighborhoods, well maintained, all that kind of stuff. But even then, the likelihood is you're going to have to do some upgrades. So put on your criteria. For the rest of this week, we're going to take a look on the MLS. We're going to show you exactly the types of views that you should see when you're looking at different types of neighborhoods. We'll look at wholesaling. We'll look at buy and holds, BRRRR, subject to, and we'll look at flips.
So you're saying we're going to look on the MLS? You mean we're going to be actually looking at screenshots of actual live examples from the MLS for what people should be real, meaningful, actionable content?
That's exactly right.
Can't get this in a course or seminar or a boot camp someplace. Nobody else does this. We're going to be opening up the local MLS and actually digging into this, people.
That's exactly right. So we'll be back here tomorrow at noon with smiles on and ready to rock and roll. Make sure you join us. If you enjoyed our program today, make sure you like and share. And until tomorrow, have a great day, and we'll be back here at noon. Take care.
See everybody.